Hi, this is a demonstration of XMLFlow. This is a web application designed to help merge DITA documents into a single valid DITA file. The key strength of this is its ability to merge concurrently edited files. So there's actually a sample loaded on this application. So if I click sample merge, it loads those files in ready to perform a merge. But in fact, rather than do that for this demo, I'll show you some real files being dragged and dropped from the desktop into this file area like so. And so we have a list of files here, but they're not in quite the right order, because before starting a merge we need to make sure that the common ancestor is actually set to the first file in the list. So I need to use these arrow keys just to sort that out. And now we have base, Anna, Ben, Chris and David. That's the correct order. But to add labels to these files that are easier to read than the full file names, I'm now going to put in base Anna, Ben, Chris and David. Okay, so we've sorted the files and we've labeled them. We're now ready to merge, so we'll press merge. You've got a timer here showing you how long you've been waiting. This should take about 30 seconds. While you're waiting, you can still have a look at some of the other files that you've loaded up, just to get a feel for what you're merging. It shouldn't take too long. Normally it's about 30 seconds, but performance will vary. Okay, so just under 30 seconds there. So now we end up with a working merge file, which shows effectively a combined view of all the documents overlaid on top, with the differences that have been detected highlighted with borders, and the colors are also used to indicate the types of change. So let's have a look at more detail on this. So we were on the Files tab to start with, but if I click on the adjacent tab button, we move to the Content panel, and this gives a list of the changes as well as the changes that we see. So if I select changes within the actual document view, we see the changes also shown in the change list. You can also navigate via the change list. If you're using a desktop, then you can just use the up and down arrow keys, and also you can use the left and right arrow keys to open and close some of the change options. Now, the reason why we have change options is where if there's a modification to an existing word, then you'll have two options. But also, if a number of authors have modified the same word, then you will have a multiple choice. And so here we have three authors, and we can see that, well, first to go back, it's so when I'm talking about authors, I'm really talking about Anna, Ben, Chris and David, with base being the common ancestor. So when I click on the top part of the change, it shows everyone involved with that change, and then we can drill down to the separate parts. So content management, that word which is misspelt, was only in the common ancestor, the base file, and then we can see that content management with the spelling correction was made by Anna, Ben and Chris, and we can see the document management phrase was added by David. So now we have a choice about which one we select, and this is where we enter into the approval mode, and we can choose either accept or reject mode. I'll select as accept, and I'll click that twice so that we go into a sticky accept mode. Otherwise it's a one-off. And so what that means is that I can either select from the document view or from the change list view to accept changes. So I'll accept document management. A tick appears in the change list, but also we see confirmation in the document view that we've just got document management as a change. Now, what I can do is if I select that again, it deselects that as an option, and then we can select something else instead. So let's quickly go through some of this. I'll click on some of these items in the change list, and just for a bit of variety I'll click on others within the document view, and we can see we're gradually making choices that bring us to a more coherent view of the document, where we make sure that the grammar is correct when we combine the different contributions, and also that the story flows in this. So we've accepted a few of these changes, and one thing you'll notice is that we have round borders for inline text changes, and we have square borders for element changes. So if I accept an element addition, so that shows as a green square border, then what will happen is a green vertical line will be shown alongside to show that this element addition has been added. Likewise, let's try rejecting a deletion, and you'll see that we get a red line alongside a rejected deletion to show that someone wanted to delete it, but we've decided not to. Excuse me. So accepting elements, so I've accepted a deletion which has the effect of removing that content, and likewise I can accept another deletion here. If you want to have an idea of the elements that you're modifying and the view doesn't make it clear, you can put on this show button at the top right corner, which will show you the paths to the tag that you're actually selecting. So here, for example, we can see that we're inside an unordered list, and this is the first item in the unordered list. So this item here is actually, you'll also see that there's a bar at the top that shows you the type of the element that you're in. So this is a P element that is nested within a list item. So if I want to accept that or reject that deletion, it doesn't actually work by selecting the paragraph, because that's nested within the list item, which is actually the element that was deleted. So I have to click outside of the paragraph but within the list item, and then it is rejected as I wanted it to be. So we can do a few more rejections here, and I'll do rejections of inline deletions. So we're gradually completing the task of reviewing this document and make sure that we're not missing any out. Once we've had a look at the content, we need to confirm to see what attribute changes have been made. So if I select on the attribute buttons, I've rejected an ID attribute there that has been added, and we can see that it's been added by Anna because Anna is underlined in green. But here we've got another element that has been modified by Anna and Ben, and now we have an option, and we can't reject it where there's a multiple choice. It has to be an accepting mode, and we can select ENGB for the value for that attribute that was modified, and we can also accept the addition of an ID attribute. And you'll notice that when we click on the attribute buttons, the corresponding element is highlighted in the document view. So it looks like we've got everything selected that requires change. If that's not the case, we'll find out later, because what we're going to do now is finalize those changes. And what that does is takes those decisions about whether to accept or review and produces a valid DITA document out of them. So let's just take off the details view there to make this a bit clearer. And here we have the final document, just to make sure that there isn't anything left hidden in terms of change. Let's click on the content change. No differences in document and no attribute changes. So we've now got a file that we're ready to store for later processing. So how do we do that? Well, down at the underneath the files block, we have a panel of buttons, and we have a store button within that. And so if I click on store, that file is stored to the local XMLFlow server, and the URL for that file is there. So if you're on an iPad, then you would not have access to your file system directly, but you would be able to make a note of that URL there that can be used later. We'll show how that's done. So what I'll do actually is I'll copy that into the clipboard for future use, but also we can on the desktop we'll be able to click on the download button, and you can see here that it's actually downloaded that file, and we can show that. And just to show you where that is now, it's been saved there. You can see that there are a few copies of this that have been created in the past, and here it is showing that topic in its at the code level. So I'll close that view down, and then we can go back to XMLFlow. So we've performed the review. We've seen all the changes that Anna, Ben, Chris and David have done. We've accepted and rejected those changes, and we've produced a valid DITA document that is the result of that review. So we can now just confirm that that is the final document by, if I just reset everything here, or go back to the base and then reset everything. So this was the file that we had before all the changes were made, and now what I want to do is show the updated file. So if I click upload, and then that URL that I copied onto the clipboard, I can then paste it back in here and load that. And there's been no change yet because I have to click on this, and if I click on that now, you'll see the change. So this is the change that we've made to that document, and that's ready to go for publishing, or you can actually use that as the base for further changes and a further review cycle. Okay, that completes this early demonstration. Thank you for listening.